My name is Eben. I'm alcoholic. It's good to be here on Friday night. It's a little after happy hour, so I guess we're going to do Friday night. I love sharing at AA meetings. I love AA. One of the things that really attracted me to Alcoholics Anonymous was that I get to participate in here. And I like telling my story. I like hearing other people's story, and I like the fact that my story gets to be my gift. And for that, I'm grateful. You know, to me, AA fellowship, this program, works for me when I participate in it. And if this was a fellowship where I had to come and get a degree and work my way through the hierarchy, I'm not saying I would not have stayed. I was desperate enough when I got here that I think I would have gone to some pretty extreme lengths. But I do know that when I got here and they said the newcomer's most important person at the meeting, I was stoked, you know, and I right away jumped into this thing. I was, in a rehab. I'm sorry I have rehab in my story. I'm going to share that a little bit. I hope that doesn't offend anyone. But it was great because I had a bunch of guys around that saved my life. And none of these guys had more than 6 months sober. And those were the guys that helped me start working through the 12 steps and literally saved my life, you know. And getting to be one of those guys and participate in this thing as an equal member was very attractive to me, and it's one of the things that really kept me coming back. So I thank you guys for letting me come here on Friday night and share my story. I was born in Southern California, down in Ojai, little hippie town up in the mountains. Had a lot of freedom. My parents were really cool, into subculture, countercultural stuff, smoking weed. There was, we knew about psychedelic drugs, and they let us have parties pretty young. My mom, she would, she'd buy us a couple beers to go out, with my friends and stuff. It wasn't like drinking, and that was, it wasn't a really repressive environment. So I had a lot of freedom, and I appreciate that today because I really got to find my own bottom. I got away with a lot of stuff, and there was repercussions, but for the most part, we got away with it, and we just got to go hard and keep going. It was a cool little town like that, the cops, we thought the cops were so fucked in that town because they'd always come break up the parties and whatnot, but the truth is they always let us go, and that's kind of the way I look at a lot of my drinking and using. I got arrested here and there, but it was always kind of slap on the wrist stuff, and it was never enough for me to feel like I was, truly powerless or that my life was completely unmanageable. And really, alcohol and drugs were more of a gateway to freedom and a bridge to camaraderie. So they really were a solution for me at a time in my life when I was, hitting adolescence and feeling awkward and wanting to fit in and wanting to have a group of friends. And I found it with, drinking beer, smoking weed, and hanging with the boys, and with that came the girls too. It was great, and I went with it. So, I don't know, I'm not going to bore you with all the details. I listen to a lot of shares, on YouTube and shit online. And this last week, I've just been listening to these stories, and they're just so fucking over the top. And I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying it's the way I perceived it. It's just like, God, total alcoholics, man. They're just trying to outdo each other with their stories, That's just not my thing, I went hard, and, from 14 on, and, let's just say we fucking drank like adults and we did drugs and we, you know, whatever. We went hard. That's enough, you know. If you're here, you know what we do. There's no lightweights in here. That's what I love about AA, you know. It's not, you know, you don't get here by being a lightweight. We're all hardcore. That's why we're here. You know, it's funny, you think, I don't want to go to AA. Those guys are a bunch of straight-laced, you know, like clean cut, you think, and then you get here and you're like, oh yeah, these are all the guys that got kicked out of the bar. These are all the people that were the fucking life of the party. You know what I mean? And that's the way we rolled. I mean, I could just say that. The guys that were partying hard, those were the guys that I gravitated to, you know, and we didn't care how old we were. You know, we partied like grown-ups, so to speak. So, you know, I went to school and I did pretty well. I got into college. You know, like I said, there wasn't a lot of repercussions, so I was able to just rip hard and run, and life was still going pretty good. My parents were pretty supportive. Nobody was really trying to stop me, even when I get arrested or whatever, you know. Not everybody has that story, but I do. But it definitely got to the place where I'd been drinking every day for a couple of years. And, you know, I mean, I'd been drinking and smoking weed and doing a bunch of other stuff since I was 14. And I was getting into my mid-20s. And, you know, I mean, I tried to stop drinking when I was 22. I really feel like I kind of hit a bottom. And then I just found other alcohols, you know, that allowed me to kind of keep that wall of denial up where I didn't have to drink as much because I'd do other stuff, you know. And some of those things were demoralizing in themselves, you know, just probably because of, you know, societal judgment, but it felt, you know, kind of wrong, I guess. Maybe there's some guilt around that. When you start getting into harder drugs and stuff like that. I know today that it's total bullshit, that alcohol is the gnarliest drug in the world, you know. It's pretty insane that we even make a distinction about it in our society, but we do, even though, you know, I mean, I'm sorry for anybody here that doesn't know it, but if you're an alcoholic, you're a drug addict. Like, alcohol's a drug. I'm sorry, you know, if that goes against some AA freaking credo out there, whatever, but I don't know. You see people, you know, drinking and crashing cars, getting in fights, beating their wives. I don't know, you see some guy, you know, I mean, whatever. It's as gnarly a drug as any drug. And I know for myself as an alcoholic that it really doesn't matter which drug it is, which alcohol it is. You know, I did them all alcoholically, and I was powerless over them all. And so whatever, but that is what it is. This is an AA meeting, so I'll keep it focused on that. But I sort of hit that bottom at 22, and I was spiritually bankrupt, you know. I didn't have, you know, it's funny because I read that thing in More About Alcoholism, and it talks about going on a trip, not going on a trip, reading inspirational books, joining it, so taking on more exercise. But like, I literally made a list exactly like that when I was like 22. These are things I should do, you know, that would improve my life, you know, and you know, instead I got a girlfriend and found heroin, and that was, you know, that was my solution. So anyways, I kept going for another 5 years, and I kept getting demoralized, and I kept drinking, you know, and every time I'd try to stop, I just wasn't able to do it, you know. I've had a few sponsees that just been like, I never tried to stop. I don't know if I'm powerless. I just partied till I got here. And I'm just like, well, let's just keep going on the steps then. I don't know. I mean, I guess in a sense, well, I don't know. No, I have a guy that's gone through all the steps, and he's another one of these guys. I never tried to stop. I'm like, really? I don't. To me, that just seems so symptomatic of alcoholism. In my story, I was always trying to stop or control it. You know, it's either I got to stop to do this thing, or I got to stop to do, you know, this, you know, school thing, or this work thing, or this life thing, and I'd just be fucking hammered again, you know? And that's what tells me that I'm powerless. That's my definition of an alcoholic, you know, I've lost the power of choice. And I would decide not to do it, and then something else just blank out, those blank spots, whatever, and then I would do it. To me, that means that it's not my choice. you know, because I had every reason not to do it. Good reasons, bad reasons, whatever, but I would just do it. So that was that, you know, and then other times be like, well, you know, I'd try to regulate. No, I'll just do this, or I'll just do that, or I'll just have a couple tonight, or I'll just have one. I'm not saying every time I did that I got completely shit-faced blackout drunk, but 9 times out of 10, or 10 times out of 10, I'd be on drink number 3 and be like, fuck, now I'm out of money, I can't take the bus to work tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever that thing was that I was trying to regulate for was now in jeopardy. Regardless of whether I got shit-faced blackout drunk or not, the money was gone, and it was too late, and I wasn't going to get enough sleep, and I was going to smell it. Just powerlessness. That's the only point I'm trying to make about that. That was the loss of the power of control. You know, so this is all leading up to some really big reasons why I tried to stop. Which one was my best friend from growing up, who, you know, I lived through that whole life in my hometown, and just all my firsts were with these guys. This guy was a huge part of my identity, huge part of my heart, just, you know, just such a huge hole when he died, you know, and he overdosed. He basically drank himself to death and then messing around with the same stuff that I was messing around with. But really it was alcohol, you know, 27 years old basically. I mean, he was in poor health, had some health issues. But he died, you know, basically drank himself to death. And, you know, I'm not here to scare anybody straight. It's not like, you know, I'm not wringing my hands here. This isn't some frothy emotional appeal. I'm just saying that's what happened. And to me, it did seem, you know, to me it was huge. And I said, fuck it, man. The party's over. I'm going to stop, you know. And I couldn't stop. For my best friend, my homie, my fucking, you know, somebody that I would lay my life down for, it wasn't enough, you know. And, you know, what a beautiful thing to read in We Agnostics, that thing when he's talking about God, where he says it's like the feeling between a friend, you know. That I could understand of what God is. That love, you know, with somebody that loved me unconditionally, you know. So, yeah, it was heavy stuff, and it wasn't enough to keep me sober, you know. I mean, there was honor at stake. There was pride at stake. There was manhood at stake. There was friendship and loyalty at stake. And none of those beautiful, beautiful principles were enough to keep me sober. So I felt like I was betraying him, you know, and that kind of demoralization really just got me to my bottom. You know, I had another situation a year before that kind of went out of order, but when my grandmother died, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm hitting you guys with all the fucking melodramatic stories. My dear granny on her deathbed, you know, but that's what happened, man. She had a stroke, and I went down to see her, and I said, God, let my, you know, just basically take her pain away, you know, and you know, don't let her suffer. I didn't believe in God, but faced with death and the love of my grandma, all of a sudden I was praying to God. I don't know where the hell that came from. Well, she was very religious. Whatever. I mean, I was basically a Satanist and an atheist. And here I was asking this God that I didn't know or believe in to just take her suffering, and then I would be the, you know, the grandson that she wanted me to be. And it wasn't enough. You know, I showed up a year later at the unveiling of her gravestone, and I was strung out of my mind. And I'm around all these religious people that respected her, that were closer to her than I was. I mean, you talk about demoralizing. I love this woman. I couldn't even be her grandson. These people all knew her better than I did, and I'm loaded, you know, out of my mind. And it just killed me, you know. But again, when I got here, that pain, you know, that was born out of my own betrayal, quote unquote, of these people that I loved, you know, it pointed me in the direction of what true love is. And I got to say that that's what God is, So to me, God is, I'm not here to freaking argue with anybody, but it's just for me, my belief is like, if you don't believe in God, you just don't know what God is. You're just looking in the wrong place. And I'm not saying that to, and I should stick to I statements, but I'm just saying this is the way my mind processes this, because I know that God is real. I know that my good friend loved me unconditionally. I know that my grandmother loved me unconditionally. And that thing between us, that unseen, that thing between friends, it's real. And anytime I get confused about God's will or thy will be done, that's all I got to think about is my relationship to these loving people in my life. And it's just real. I need that tangible, experiential experience of God in my life. So that's where I started from, I looked at the 12 steps and it said, having had a spiritual awakening, and I said, we all have a spirit, and it's that thing, that life. It's life itself, man. That's what God is to me. It's just life itself. My friend died, and I can't bring him back. We can make life. I have a son. I made a baby. I know where those come from, But when somebody dies, we can't bring them back. So there's obviously a power there that is real and is mysterious and something that I'm powerless over and something greater than me, That was enough just to know that we're all interconnected through this life. And I had to start from there. I had a really good sponsor. I got a sponsor right away. And he said, God's that little thing inside me, that little voice inside me that surrendered, And what a beautiful gift that was this man gave me, because then I knew God was inside me. It says that in the literature. It says deep down inside. That's where we find it, And I'm not saying because it's in the book that it's true. I just happened to be at an AA meeting, so I'm using that as a frame of reference. I always hate that when people are like, this stuff's totally true, it's in the book. It's like, we wrote the book. Fuck, you know what I mean? But anyways, but it is true, So I look in here. This is the gateway to heaven, is in here. And to me, there's no getting around that. There's no getting around the pain of suffering. There's no getting around the experience of losing the ego. When it says in step 7, we humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings, there's no getting around being humble. It's not. Those are not Passover, skip over steps. That's the real meat and potatoes of Alcoholics Anonymous. Becoming willing to let go of the ego. Becoming willing to let go of my identity with self. And how do I become willing? I feel like shit. Because my homie died. Because my grandma died. And I couldn't stay sober. Because I'm a dick to my wife. That's suffering. Is what makes me ready. That's how I become willing, by suffering, and going. It's not just suffering though. It's just I have to go through the experience. There's no bypass for me in spirituality of Alcoholics Anonymous. This isn't self-knowledge. It's not something. Yeah, I read a shitload of books about spirituality. I live this stuff. I meditate on a daily basis. I love spiritual literature. I read the big book back and forth. I read it with other men. But the truth is, those are just signposts. So I know what I'm looking, where I'm going, some direction when I'm actually having these experiences. When I come home and my wife says, how's your day today, honey? And I'm like, fuck you. How dare you ask me that question? Don't fucking pry into my life. Don't say the same thing you said to me yesterday. I'm not this fucking robot. Like, that's alcoholic thinking. That's my disease. I'm not saying other people that aren't alcoholics don't feel the same way, because I think they do. But I know for myself as an alcoholic that shit is amplified. Like, it's insanity. Here's somebody just expressing love to me. what, I expect them to do it in the way I want them to do it, like they're supposed to know the exact right thing. I'm so self-centered, you know, and it's to go through that process of that suffering, and that's what breaks me down to where I just get to the place where I'm ready to surrender. I'm ready to get over Eben, you know, I'm ready for Eben to die so that I can return to God in here, you know. Let go of that. Who cares what people think about me? God loves me. Doesn't matter, you know, what other people say to me. God loves me in here, you know. And if I can't do that on my own, just have that transformation just from the suffering, then I add in service, you know. I get to act my way into right thinking, you know, and that's, you know, that's the funny thing. I don't know, I mean, I'm an alcoholic, so of course I have these combative thoughts in my head, you know, but when I go to meetings and people are like, I'm an atheist, I go, well, first thing I think is, well, oh, that's what you call God. Because the funniest thing about atheists is every atheist I've met, when they start talking about spirituality, they say the deepest shit. And it's so fucking spiritual, and it's so like, I don't believe in God, I just believe in universal love and that we're all connected. And, that, you know, and I'm just like, right on, brother, atheism sounds cool. I like atheism. I just spell it G-O-D, you know, but there was a point to that, but anyways. I think I'm pretty much out of time, so I know there was some point to that, had to do with service, right? So I was talking about. That's it. That was what I was trying to say. When I hear people say that they don't believe in God, and the reason, you know, there's people in here with a long time. It talks about atheists in the big book. So we know they were around since the beginning of the fellowship, you know, and that's, you know, it's addressed in this, why it's addressed in the book. There's going to be some people here that don't believe in God. So that's fine. You know, it's all just about our own experience anyways. I don't want anybody to expect anybody to believe in anything. I just go out and experience it. Whatever I experience, I just call that God. What I'm beating around the bush about saying is when people say that, I just think, I don't give a fuck about your philosophy. Are you doing service? Are you helping the alcoholic who's still suffering? I believe whatever you want, but for me, I hope that you're able to translate that into the steps, so that person can lead people through the steps, you know. And that's been the foundation of my recovery. I don't think I'm really much different from other people in here, really, to be honest. But you know, the alcoholic mind, it's a constant struggle of I'm different, I'm the same, I'm different. That returning is spirituality. I'm separated by my ego and I come back, and that's the spiritual, that's the practice of spirituality, is coming back to my unity. So my thing has been, I got through the steps in my first, you know, in my first 9 months of sobriety, and I started working with other guys and reading the big book with them and taking them through the steps, and that's how I do it, you know. I've constantly had sponsees, and I've worked a number of guys through all 12 steps. I just heard a 5th step this weekend, and it was fantastic, you know. The guy actually felt pretty shitty afterwards. I was surprised. That hasn't happened before. Usually when I do a 5th step with somebody, they're pretty stoked. But he felt vulnerable. He felt kind of judged. He thought I was laughing at him, you know, or something, he said. And I didn't take it personally. You know what? I just said, look, dude, my intention would never be to hurt you. You know, if I did it wrong, if you, you know, like, I'm not here to defend myself, but if you took it that way, it breaks my heart. I'm so sorry, you know. I want him to feel that this is a safe place. So we talked through it, and what we got to figure out was that was just his ego in the last throes, you know. The last throes of defending itself. Don't let go of me. Don't let go of me. They're laughing at me, you know. Don't let go of self. It's just fighting him, telling him that I am insulting him, telling him anything to hold on. And I got to let him see that, and we talked through it. And he saw it. He went, oh shit, I'm trying to let go of that person. And it's fighting. My alcoholic mind is fighting to survive, you know. So it was good. I'm glad we got to talk about that today. And yeah, sponsorship has been the real foundation for me, you know. And then, I know I'm already past my time, but I have to say, you know, that so much in this book and in this program really does emphasize meditation and prayer. And I just, you know, after, I got to about 17 years sober, and I tried meditation, you know, here and there, and a lot, you know, I mean, I get it, man. You can meditate in meetings. You can meditate running. I've done a lot of different things. You can meditate. I can meditate, you know, surfing and doing these other things. But when I really started looking back at the book again, there's numerous times where it talks about morning meditation, you know, and I went back and I read the history of AA, and that was one of the things that really struck me, that Bill Wilson said that he kind of regretted not emphasizing the morning meditation more, you know, but the truth is it's right in there. It says, you know, I mean, to the extent to where, you know, in the 9th step it says, in your morning meditation, pray, you know, the family thing, and then, and I love the part in the 4th step where it says, we treat our sex problems the same way we treat all our problems, which is great. This is how we treat all our problems. In meditation, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So that's just where I'm at, you know. 19 years, 9 months sober. I have a daily meditation practice. I get up early in the morning. I read daily reflections. I read spiritual books. I did a thing that's basically steps 10 and 11 that I just sort of abridged it, and I read that. And I'm able to work all 12 steps every day just by reading step 10 in the big book, you know. And, you know, I go on and on about God and my spiritual experiences, and because I love it and I live it, and I just realized, you know, I don't want to come off combative in any way in here. Everybody's experience is legit, and God's going to speak to us in the language that we understand. So if God speaks to you in a different way than he speaks to me, that's the way it works, you know. And don't let what I say keep, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying not to preach to everybody, but I'm just saying, like, I got to experience what I got to experience to get my experience. And I feel that really, there's no bypass here. You know, it says no human power, you know, and what that means is nobody can do this for me. I got to go through the experience. But what a fucking beautiful experience it is, you know, with the suffering in there, with the pain, and then the joy and the laughter and the love that I experience. I wouldn't have it any other way, man. Would not have it any other way. Thank you, guys.